For 25 years, Ukraine had artificial non-market tariffs for housing and utility services and energy resources. Citizens paid for utility bills calculated on norms, not actual consumption. Water or heat meters in dwellings were considered unnecessary. Independent Ukraine has been tied by a archaic Soviet-era framework. Outdated legislation restrained down utility market development. The sector was deprived of investments and controlled by oligarchs, which benefited both from state and population. Any energy efficiency initiatives were blocked. The state did not promote rational consumption of resources, energy conservation. Therefore, utilities and consumers were not incentivized to conserve energy resources. It seemed as households paid low tariffs, but billions of hryvnias were spent from the budget to compensate for the difference. The taxpayers' money were transferred to pockets of gas oligarchs at the expense of unpaid pensions, scholarships and social payments. Thus, the real tariffs in Ukraine has been almost the highest in Eastern Europe. Our country was completely dependent on Russian energy and caught by the gas trap for 25 years. Due to lack of investments, utility infrastructure in Ukraine is dilapidated. Annual gas losses in the heat production and transportation reach 2 and 4 billion cubic meters. District heat system requires deep modernization and more than 6 billion euros of investments. Most of the housing stock in Ukraine was built by the Soviet standards with low energy efficiency requirements. The buildings consume 2 times more heat than in EU countries with similar climate conditions. Each year, Ukrainians pay for the extra 9 billion cubic meter of gas that are lost for the heating of building. More than 30 billion euros is needed for complex energy modernization of buildings. What has been done and what should be done to implement large-scale energy efficiency? Ukrainian government started to implement energy efficiency reform in 2015. State program for supporting energy efficiency, warm loans, was launched. Important laws were developed and submitted to parliament. On peculiarities of ownership in buildings, that is already approved, on house and utility services, on energy efficiency in buildings, on commercial metering. Government approved economically justified price for gas in May 2016 and restored proper economic incentives for energy efficiency. Today, nearly 99% of gas for individual heating is consumed with metering. 59% of multi-story buildings equipped with building-level heat meters. 100% of metering is planned in 2018. Ukraine severely lacks modern legislative framework to encourage energy efficiency process and create conditions for implementing energy-saving measures. It is vital to fulfill conditions of association agreement with EU and proper and timely execution of energy efficiency projects financed by our international partners. Energy efficiency reform is one of the most crucial reforms in Ukraine. It is the only sustainable path to energy independence of our country. It is the path to European standards of consumption and energy conservation. We know what to do. District heating sector reform. Modern legislation. Energy efficiency fund.